So one of the tricks about being a hobo vlogger is that in addition to like cameras being at the right angles, correct angles, that sounds wrong, not a right angle, and lighting being decent, you also have to find a spot in a stranger's house that they probably wouldn't object to having on camera. So I had like a good setup, and then I looked at the background and thought, "Ooh, there's like a lot going on back there that people might not want me putting on the internet," just like stuff, like life stuff, whatever. Which is why we look like we're in a JCPenney photo studio, because these are the curtains, and don't we look fancy here? It's late today. I had an amazing day. Check Instagram. I brought little kimono things to my nieces and nephews, and it was the cutest thing that's ever happened. But that is neither here nor there. What is here and there is Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 23 to 28 is what we're looking at here. And if you were at Mass today, I hope that you had a lector just like mine. Normally I like a lector who's, not like very theatrical, because I've heard some of that too, but just like intent and deliberate and speaks as though they know what they're saying. This woman just sounded sad and tired, which was exactly what today's reading called for. Just sad and tired. And I wonder if that's how she always sounds, or if she really was just speaking God's word. But it's God starts, he says, "This is what I commanded them. Listen to my voice." If you go the verse before, "In speaking to your fathers on the day I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I gave them no command concerning holocaust or sacrifice. This rather is what I commanded them. Listen to my voice." God's sitting here like, just, I didn't give you a list of a million things you had to do. I gave you some things to do, but that's not what it was about. I just asked you, listen to me. Let me be your God and you be my people. Just listen to me. Walk in all the ways that I command you so that you may prosper. But they obeyed not, nor did they pay heed. They walked in the hardness of their evil hearts and turned their backs, not their faces, to me. Now, our priest today said, it's actually, a better translation is backsides. That it's not just disdain, it's deliberate disrespect, right? They turned their backsides toward me and said, "This is what you're worth." And it, just previous to this, in verse 18, it's talking about the Israelites committing pagan worship. And he says, "The children gather wood, their fathers light the fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven, while libations are poured out to strange gods in order to hurt me." And I'm just so struck that even before God took on flesh, there's still a real humanity, right? We know that he's a personal God. That he's saying here, you did that to hurt me. I'm not mad because I'm God and I deserve better. I'm hurt because I love you. And there's that feeling that you had when you were a child, when your mother said, "I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed." And you were like, "No, be mad. Please be mad. I'd rather you were mad." Disappointed is much worse. And that's what God is here. He's just so disappointed in you. And he just says, they haven't obeyed me. They've stiffened their necks. They've done worse to their fathers. And he says to Jeremiah, when you speak all these words to them, they won't listen to you either. They don't care. Doesn't matter what we do. Say to them, this is the nation which does not listen to the voice of the Lord its God, or take correction. Faithfulness has disappeared. The word itself is banished from their speech. And I was just listening to this woman, so sad and tired, so defeated, and I thought, this God, who we have battered and bruised, this God keeps coming back for more. This is the God who promises that he will not leave us. The God who comes to belong completely to us. What kind of love? I was praying recently, and actually I was driving in Texas, and there's a lot of land out there, a lot of towns that have songs, country music songs written about them, and you know, if you were a girl who listened to country music in the 90s, there's just a lot that you're singing when you're out there, right? So whenever I'm in Arizona, there is no Arizona, which I tweeted about one time, and Jamie O'Neill actually retweeted me, and I thought I was going to die. But then I was like, oh, it's 2017, and Jamie O'Neill is not a thing anymore. But I was driving to Austin. You know that Austin song? If you listen to country music in the late 90s, early 2000s. And P.S. If this is Austin, I still love you. And I had gotten to the part in the song that says, what kind of man would hang on that long? What kind of love that must be? And as I sang that, I reached up to pull down the sun visor because the sun was coming in over on the side. And I grabbed on to a beautiful crucifix that I have clipped to my sun visor. As I was singing, what kind of man would hang on that long? What kind of love that must be? And I mean, there's country music songs that are like doing that on purpose. This one, I think it was pure providence. And just to think about that line through the frame, the lens of Jesus, to think, that's, I listened to this song about a man who keeps loving this woman even though she left him like a year ago, and he changes his answering machine message to be about her, and oh, and that's so beautiful. Look at how everlasting love is. And Jesus is like, that's all right, I'll just hang here. I'll wait for you. And, this is one reason that I love praying pop music, is because and I'm certainly not advocating that we sing pop music at church, but sometimes I think our hymns, especially the more modern ones, they're empty, and they're fluff, and they're nonsense, and Jesus is my friend, and they're musically horrific. And then you listen to one of these pop songs that's just like, all of me loves all of you, or thinking about the longing to go home to heaven, right? I've got that Michael Bublé song. I pray this all the time. Another airplane, another sunny place. I'm lucky, I know, but I wanna go home. Let me go home. And to look at Jesus in the Eucharist, and to see all the good things in my life, and to sing, let me go home. I've had my fun. Believe me, I'm done. Wanna go home. And just like that music, I think it accomplishes some of this longing and this ache and this desperate love that the Lord wants us to have for him. And it also shows the deep love that he has for us. Almost say something, I'm giving up on you. Except that he's not. It's that same sorrow and exhaustion, but he's not giving up. Or I don't know. I could go on and on about pop music. I did not think that was what we were about to do right now in front of my lovely backdrop, right? But just, I don't know, just to think about how tired God is of having to put up with our ugliness. Not just it's nailing him to the cross and the anguish of Good Friday, that's big, but sometimes for us it's not mortal sin, it's just those little petty venial every day, and every time it's just turning our backside on God. Every time I gossip, for me it's always about the punchline. It's always about impressing people. It's always about, how can I complain about this so that people will feel bad for me? It's always just stupid stuff, and it's just God sitting there, you're doing it to hurt me. Okay, maybe that's not deliberately my intention, but it's not about me. I just asked you, listen to my voice. Why you gotta keep being like this? Why you gotta keep doing this? And it's the same thing in the gospel, right? In Luke 11, where Jesus drives out a demon, and they're like, oh, by the power of Beelzebul, and he's like, why you gotta say things like that? You know, like just hurt and angry. And he says, look, if Satan is divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand? If you say it's by Beelzebub I drive out demons, well, if I drive them out by Beelzebub, by whom do your own people drive them out? They will be your judges. Right? And that just end like, whoever's not with me is against me. Whoever does not gather with me scatters. It's this feeling of like, y'all, like, what are you doing? You just gotta pick. And sometimes I think that we don't pick just because it's, I don't know, it's too hard even to think about it. You know, like if you thought about it, if I thought about it before I complained about something that had happened to me, if I thought about it, I would be like, oh, that's not giving glory to God. But I don't bother thinking about it. I'm not listening to his voice. And the psalm today, if today you hear his voice, harden not your heart. Right? It's the invitatory, the Psalm 95 that we hear every single day of the year to start off the liturgy of the hours. And it's just saying, like, look, God's going to speak to you today. Listen, he's tired. Like, he'll keep waiting, and he'll keep fighting, and he'll keep longing for you, and he'll keep coming after you. But must you weary the Lord your God? Is it not enough for you to weary men? Must you also weary the Lord your God? And, this is the heart of our long-suffering God, who slumbers not nor sleeps, who faints not nor grows weary. He will persist. He will keep loving you. But friend, whether it's complaining or gossip or pornography or skipping mass on Sundays or refusing to pay any attention to your prayer or talking back to your mother, whatever it is, we gotta quit turning our backside on it. Because not just because it's sin and sin is evil, like, okay, yeah, but because God is a person, right? He's three persons, and those persons have their heart broken by us again and again, and they come pathetically back and ask us again, please won't you love me? Please won't you love me? And sometimes I think it's easier to run from a wrathful God whose vengeance can be assuaged only by the blood of Christ and the sacrament of the confession. Then you can be like, okay, like we're at war, we're enemies, and I'm like trying to get away with something, and you're like trying to smite me, and that's not an adequate picture of God. But when we think of God as just judge, sometimes it's easier to sin because we're too aware of his mercy to be afraid of his justice. And maybe it's not that we need fear. Maybe it's that we just need to know that he's tired of being hurt. That his poor, pierced heart is bleeding dry for us. And that when we turn our backside, when we spit in his face, when we ignore him and reject him, he just hangs his head and says, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow you're going to love me. Maybe tomorrow you're going to listen to my voice. If today you hear his voice, my friends, harden not your heart.